I'm Bill Bishop. I'm the CEO of the Big Idea Company, and I've got something really interesting, exciting to share with you. It's called the Relationship First Formula. Now, if you look at all these books behind me here, I've written 11 books on business, innovation, marketing, technology over the years. All of those books have their common element is the relationship first formula. It's the most powerful and important concept that we teach all the members in our program. And they are really excited to learn this new approach or different approach. Most of us in business, we're caught in what I call the product first trap. And we're designing our business around products and services, and we're in a particular industry. And it really is a trap because it stops us from innovating and providing more value in the world. And it can also make our business very complicated and also very vulnerable to change. Now, when you use this relationship first formula, all these opposites happen, all these benefits happen. It helps you stand out from your competition. It helps you meet more great prospects and get better customers. It helps you make more money from all of them. It helps you future proof your business, and it makes a pathway into the future that is very, very exciting, that you can start to move forward very confidently. So when I share this with you, it's going to probably give you a whole bunch of ahas about your business. Is you're going to see it's sort of your whole business through a different lens, and one that you're going to find so much more relaxing and exciting. And then that the word relaxing is key, because it's so many people that we've met with in the first meeting where they're all stressed out about their business. They got all this going on. It's crazy situation. And then we just help them sort of see the whole business through relationship first. And they just sort of calm down, and they realize how much potential they have, and actually how easy it will be to achieve that potential. So I'm really hoping you'll invest the time in watching this presentation about relationship first formula. Thank you. Yeah, so I want to talk about uh, relationship first formula. So I came up with that idea, or that name for it, in the '90s, because my business started in 1987. The iteration of I had a business before that, and then I worked for marketing company for a while, and then in 1987 I started this business, the Big Idea Company, which originally was called Bishop Communications, which is still a corporation, but now we call it the Big Idea Company. But at that time, we focused on publishing newsletters, and I was using that computer right there to do desktop publishing to make newsletters. And after a couple of years, we had about 100 clients, so we really did really well, really fast. And that was a good business too, because it was a regular thing. Like, it was newsletters and magazines that had to be published consistently. So we were always getting the repeat business, right? So I thought I had it all figured out. But what happened is that in about 1994, people started talking about websites and making everything digital, right? And so my business got really disrupted by that. So we started doing all kinds of other things, and I got into digital marketing, and I had a whole lot of services that I was doing. But one of the problems I had was, because of that, I was just kind of running around trying to get business wherever I could. And I had literally about 14 different kinds of customers. And so I was working with corporations, I was working with the government, I was working with associations, I was working with entrepreneurs, pretty well anything, you know. And I thought initially that was okay, because I was just trying to get the business, but it did start to turn into a very complicated business. I kept getting disrupted. All the different things I was doing were disrupted by technology, and it was very stressful. So I took some time to think about it, and I realized that the issue that was happening was that I was very focused on products and services. And so whenever I would think about, well, what do I do next or what do I do now, it was about a product or a service. Um, and I realized that that was a typical way of thinking, but it was also how I was getting into trouble because it was just, there was just too much going on. And ultimately, because it was so many things, that it would complicate it. So, so the insight I had was that, well, what would be better is if I just had one kind of customer and I built my whole business around that. Now that sounds so obvious, right, in a way, but I started realizing that it wasn't obvious. That to start with who you want to help was not the thing that most people thought about a business, and I hadn't been taught that. To think of it more about the relationships that I had. So, so I said, well, what kind of relationships do I want to have, or who do I want to have relationships with? And and I realized that the only ones I really wanted to work with were entrepreneurs. Like all the other ones were, like the corporations were just too big, and I wasn't really able to help them that much. And the government was terrible to work with, really, and so, I realized that I wanted to help an owner of a business, right? So so that was great. And then I said, well, I have a bunch of those, but there's some of them I like and some of them I don't, right? So I started thinking about what that was about. And I realized the people I want to work with are entrepreneurs who are ambitious, forward thinking, and they also have good intentions. Like they're trying to help people. So that was my idea. So because I had a few that they just wanted to make money and they didn't really care whether they were helping anybody, um, which was fine for them, but it wasn't fine for me. I couldn't really get on side with that, right? So it was really about, they're really trying to help people. Um, so I looked at my relationships that I had, and I realized, well, I've only got about 5 or 10, let's say 10, that meet that bill. Like, so I had over 100 clients, but if I really was very discerning, I'd say there was 10. So initially that was kind of shocking um, thought, because I thought, well, that's kind of sucks. Like the rest of them, what am I doing with these rest of them? But anyway, but it was clarity. Um, and then the next thought is, well, how many of those would I like to have? So I set the goal of having 50. So now, and I said within a year, I'd like to happen within a year. I thought that was a little ambitious, but I thought, well, I'll go for it. So go from 10 to 50, and then I had to start thinking about, well, how am I going to get them, and so on. But I'll park that for a second. But that was a really big insight, because it was extremely helpful, right? Because I go, well, where's all the money come from anyway? Well, it's coming from the customers, right? So, or the clients. So I need more clients. I need more good clients. It's like obvious, but I can't be just running around going willy nilly. I got to be more focused. So I just got more focused. I said, relationship first. Who do I want to have a relationship with? And then build my marketing around getting those types of people. Okay. As opposed to saying, well, I've got this product. Now, who are all the different kinds of people we can sell it to? All right. And that sounds like, I go back just for a second and say, well, that sounds maybe smart, because you say, we just want as many customers as we can get. But then it just doesn't work, because you got to chase after all these different types of customers in different ways, and it's not focused and it's too complicated. So this was very much more clear. It's like, I'm going to go after entrepreneurs, and we're going to do our marketing to them. Now, I didn't fire anybody like all those other people, and I wasn't like, mad at them or anything, but I was thinking the future is not those types of people. That the future is these entrepreneurs. Now, the interesting thing was, because we got so focused, we did actually get the 50 in a year. We got the 50 in a year, because I wasn't wasting my time on any extraneous things. I was just saying, where can I find entrepreneurs? So I just got involved in any kinds of organizations that had entrepreneurs in it. And then did my marketing accordingly. So that's really what's gone on ever since. And that was, in the middle 90s that I started looking at it that way. And then since then, we've worked with, in our program, Big Idea Adventure program, more than 5,600 entrepreneurs. And they've all been what I call a green light. All right. So, that's the first thing about relationship first. It just gets you very focused. Say, who do I want to help? Make it about the relationships. Because the other thing I started thinking about is, well, if I had 50 of those ideal customers, what would my business be like? And I realized, well, any issues that I have, any complaints I have about business would all go away. Like everything would be good. Okay. Like it would be so much better if I had those 50 ideal clients. And so I go, well, that has to be the number one business goal. Like that's it. Right. So I wasn't thinking first about products or services. Now I did come around to thinking, well, how do I get those 50? And I go, well, one is I have to put something new and better in front of them as well. And that had to be the big idea. And that's where the whole concept of the big idea came from, because it was like, okay, well, I need something big and better to put in front of them. They get them. So that was the big idea adventure program that we created. So out of that relationship first thinking came the idea for big idea program. It wasn't the other way around. I didn't have the idea for the big idea program and think, well, who am I going to sell it to? It was the other way around. I made the relationship first goal first. Okay. Now this has much bigger repercussions though. Okay. So old factories, almost everybody you'll ever talk to that has a business, they're going to tell you about their product first. Like they're going to say, what do you do? And they're going to tell you about their product first. Okay. And then as soon as they do that, I go, oh, they're old factory thinking. And they're going to have a lot of issues ultimately. Maybe they already have them, like commoditization, disruption, a lot of competition, and so on. The odd person says, no, well, I help, entrepreneurs, or I help parents, or I help, seniors, for example, right? Then when they say that first, I go, oh, well, that's pretty relationship first now, because they're starting there. All right. Now, the reason why this is so important is that it has so many repercussions. Okay. So one, like I say, much more focused on marketing, but also it changes the whole future of your business. Okay. So if you have a product, now I'll use the example from the book. There's a book I wrote. It's called Beyond Basketballs. It's all about this. And in the book, there's a company I made up. I call it the Basketball Inc. And they make basketballs. So that's their business, right? So if you ask them what they do, well, we sell basketballs. And the transformation they make in the book is, well, then they start thinking, well, that's sort of a one-trick pony, and there's a lot of competition, and it's kind of a commodity. They became the basketball people. They said, now we're trying to help basketball players. So just that change of thinking was, oh, we're helping basketball players. So why are we just doing basketballs here? Like that doesn't make any sense. Like, why would we just do that? They need, somebody's playing basketball, they need more than that, right? So they started thinking about it. Well, they need training, right? So the coaches to coach them on basketball. Maybe they want to have, buy the basketball net and so on for their driveway, or even build a basketball court in their backyard or something, or get involved in tournaments and, all the uniforms and, and so on. And with social media, connect with people love basketball and et cetera, et cetera. So basketball player cards and stuff, like anything to do with basketball now could be part of their business, you see. And that's what I really started realizing. Well, that thinking is new factory now, because, we're going to be like Apple and Google and Amazon. We can have a value hub, and we can start to really expand all the possible things we can do. Because it doesn't change the business model. The business model is basketball players. So anything to do to help them is fine. Okay. So it does allow you to innovate much more. The other thing is it helps you future-proof your business. And this is an issue that's going to become more and more important. And my next book, I'm going to announce right now, is called The Forever Company. And it's how to future-proof your business and thrive no matter what happens. Okay. Because we just keep going through all these crazy things that are going on in the world. And it's just really, really knocking people off their game when it comes to business, all the different things. And because their business isn't future proof. But if you use relationship first formula, it will future proof your business, because you go, I'm trying to help these kind of people. Oh, the world changed. Well, that means their world changed. So I'm going to help them that way now. Okay. And that's the pivot is the point. Like, it's like, yes, we're going to pivot because the world changed. But what didn't change is who we have relationships with. You see? So, I mean, a good example of that with me is that, been going along doing big idea, and then AI came along. So I wrote the book about AI because that's going to affect entrepreneurs. So that fits in with my work, right? With my business model. So we want to, this really helps you future-proof your business, because no matter what happens, you say, well, if I'm helping this kind of person or this kind of company, 20 years from now, would that be true no matter what happens with robots and God knows what? Yes, they'll still need help. They'll still be there to need help with something, so that my business will still be relevant. I might be doing something completely different, like very likely, but it'll be the same business, you see. So, I think about all those factories on the Rust Belt, in Canada and the US, and lots of reasons why that happened. But one of the reasons was because they were all product first, because, whatever the demand for that product or how that product was made became, no longer needed, they went out of business. But if they'd said, no, we're trying to help these kind of people, then they would have been able to change and adapt much more easily. And maybe they wouldn't have, their business might not have gone out of business, right? So I'm not trying to solve all that issue because it's a big one, but there's probably a lot of companies that, if they had relationship first thinking, could have pivoted and stayed relevant, but they kept thinking, oh no, we make tires or something, and now people don't need these tires, so we're out of business. That's usually what happens. They don't go, oh, what else could we do to stay in business? Maybe do something else altogether. Have ballet classes or something. I mean, literally that crazy. And well, I can't do that. We just make tires. Like ballet classes. That doesn't seem to fit. So, but it could. You see. So the idea of being able to evolve is very, very, very powerful. So those are just some of the implications of this. But I'll just finish by saying, just to give a review of it. Okay, so typically we're product first, and we define our business by that product. So we make tires. We don't make anything else. We don't start talking about ballet classes or something. Okay. And we have a lot of competition usually, and commoditized, and typically too, if it's a product, it's physical, so that has its issues. Not thinking virtual at all. And so we get caught in that, right? And then we have all these different kinds of customers, and it gets complicated, and that's not very profitable. But whereas this, we have a particular kind of person or company that we're trying to help, and we're going to try to help them any way we can. And that's how we define our business. That's much simpler and more focused. And because of that, it's going to be more profitable. Okay. And more future-proof. So this is why I really, really encourage you to now think about this. Okay. So first thing is, think of all your customers you have and the different kinds, and think, well, what's a client I have or customer that I really love working with? This is the perfect one. And say, okay, well, that's gonna be your model. Let's say it was Tom, somebody named Tom at Acme Company. Okay. So you would think that, and then you'd go, okay, well, how many relationships do we have like that? And in any of the workshops I've done, anybody being honest is no more than 5 or 10, really, honestly. And so then I go, okay, that's fine. Now, how many would you like to have? So then they might say 50 or 100. And I say, okay, well, that's your business plan now. And they go, really? I said, yeah, that's how simple it is. Now you got to go figure out, how am I going to get those 100 customers like Tom at Acme Company? What am I going to do? And maybe the status quo isn't enough. Maybe I need to think of something new to do. And then the third thing, just to keep you motivated, is to say, what would my business be like if I had 100 clients like Tom? And they go, and you're gonna say, it would be amazing. And I go, well, then what the heck else is there to work on then? That'll be the answer to everything, right? So get focused first on the relationships. You're going to be fine. Don't worry about your products. Your products are fine. You got you got the good product already. That you don't need to worry about that anymore. You can always find other products to offer people, other service to offer people. We can come up with big ideas too, but just get focused on who you really want to help and say, okay, do that. And and another way I've worded this is, we're not trying to invent a better product here now. We're trying to invent a better customer. And so, the quality of your business is not based on your quality of your products and services, although we like to think that. It really is based on the quality of your customers and the number of those quality customers you have. That's your business there. Okay. So if you want to improve the quality of your business, improve the quality of your customers, and you'll be in much better shape. Okay. So that's as best I can do in just a short time to explain this. And it's not complicated, though it's challenging because we have been conditioned to think product first. That's what from the Industrial Revolution was, you have a business, starting a business, well, what's your product? You got to have that, come up with that first, and then, okay, now we're going to go out there. And I've been to like these events where sometimes I've been on the jury for, these incubators, and they've come up with these new things. And I'm sitting there going, it's all product first. And then one of them will have something that's not, or like a platform for, and I go, well, that's the one I'm voting for, because these other ones, they're not going to work out, probably. Very risky, because it's a product they're throwing out into the marketplace, and they don't work out typically. But the relationship first ones do. Okay, so that's what we're all about here with new factory thinking. It's the number one concept. All right. Okay.